This
So we are
conference will now
utilizing
be
this
recorded.
electronic for all members. The Tilton Conservation Commission has the ability to communicate contemporaneously during the meeting through this platform, and that the public also has contemporaneously can listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing in the following phone number of 1-866-899-4679 with a password code of 238-034-701, or by clicking on the following link, https://www.gotomeet.me/capital town of -Tilton/conservation. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting, including how to access the meeting using GoToMeeting or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the town's website of www.tiltonnh.org under agendas and meetings. If anyone has a problem, please call me at 286-4268 or email me at cmitchell@metrocast.net. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during the meeting will be done so by a roll call vote. So let's start the meeting by taking a roll call vote. Lieutenant, when each member states that they are present, please also state whether or not there's anyone else in the room with you during the meeting, which is also required under the state's right to know law. So let's start. Kathy Mitchell.
I'm upstairs, Chuck is downstairs. Here.
Jan. You'll have to unmute. Yep. Present. Are you alone, Jan?
And I said that. Yeah, here and alone. Yeah.
Jim Cropsey.
Present. Alone.
Ellen.
I am present and alone.
Paul.
Present and alone.
John Scanlon.
Present, alone.
Bob Hardy.
Present. Alone.
Okay, I'm here, present and alone, except for Kathy upstairs. Okay, on the agenda. It looks like the first item on the agenda, as usual, is minutes from the March 26th meeting. Can I assume that you all have copies of that? I see a couple of thumbs up. Is there anyone who would like to either comment or move to accept the minutes as printed or as presented?
I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Go ahead, John.
John got in first, so moved by John Scanlon, seconded by Bob Hardy.
Yes.
Any questions or comments about the minutes? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and call for a roll call vote. We'll start at the bottom this time. Bob Hardy.
Yes.
John Scanlon.
Yes.
Paul Rushlow.
Yes.
Ellen.
Yes.
Jim.
Yes.
Dan.
Yes.
Kathy.
I abstain.
In that case, the chairman doesn't need to vote, so I declare the minutes as having passed. Moving on to the Loon project. Dan, anything new to report?
The article is written, and I met up with somebody from Audubon, Becky Samola. She's a biologist. So she is looking at putting it in a publication for like a bird publication that comes out. I'm pretty sure it comes out quarterly. So that is sent off to that, and then I sent it off to the Loon Preservation Committee as well, and hoping they can use that for some sort of publication, in some sort of publication that they have. I did talk with my friend today, Mark Chaffee from Northfield, and I think our goal is just small, to build one and put one at Knowles Pond receptacle, and then maybe put one at, I know we had talked about the Riverside Park, Bob, if that's something we could put there as well. So really just something small to start with that and to raise awareness about it. So that's the progress on that.
I would add that the Winnisquam Watershed Network is interested in trying to get a few containers around as well, if that can happen.
Do you want me to send you a copy of the article itself?
Yes, please, and I'll make sure that it gets circulated.
Okay, yeah, it's in Google Docs, and then I'll convert it into like a PDF or something and include some pictures with that and send it over your way.
Thank you very much.
I'm working on the Conservation Commission newsletter for the summer, and I have started a piece on the Loon project. So anything you can send would be helpful.
Okay. Do you have like a copy of that, or like a copy you can share with me, or I could add something or whatever if you felt like?
Sure, I'll ship off what I have so far.
Is it in Google Docs, or are you just doing it in PDF?
I can do it in Google Docs if that would be easier.
Whatever works for you, but that sounds great. Good.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion for Jan to send the PDF to everybody on the commission.
I don't know that we need a motion for that, but I'm sure a request would be appropriate, Jim. I'm sure you will, Jan, right? You got everybody's email?
Yep, I'll send it right. Yeah, I do have everybody's email, so I can send that off.
Great, thanks.
Yep, you're welcome.
Okay, any other questions for Jan?
Do we need to provide money to buy any of the boxes?
Well, there is no money, so I was like, that was kind of like, I'm not quite sure how to go about doing that. I know the Northfield Conservation Commission has like a small fund, I guess, put aside specifically for Knowles Pond. So I was hoping they could, kind of furnish the monies for that. I mean, I can buy the supplies and then, I don't think it'll be that expensive for one. I can get the supplies and then let you guys know how much that is. I don't know if there's some sort of funding that would be available to help with that. But yeah.
Yeah, we could probably pay for the one out of Riverfront out of the parks budget, but I'd have to run it by the commission first. But
okay, I'll price that out this week and send you like a list of what, like an itemized list of what everything costs and what I think it'll cost to make a couple.
I don't know if this is appropriate, but I'd like to make a motion that we, post receiving the information on creating those boxes, also use funding from the Conservation Commission, since our commission mission is to help preserve natural resources. I think it falls nicely in line both with our mission and that of the parks to help.
I second that.
Sure. Second.
I also think it would be appropriate that maybe we put one over near the trail on Salmon Run as well.
That'd probably be a great idea.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that'd be a really good idea.
There's a number of people that fish in, I think it's Silver Lake Road by the dam there.
Oh yeah, the Lockmere Dam. Yeah, I go there all the time. Yeah. That's actually where the loon died on Silver Lake.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing you might talk to the Northfield folks about too is the boat ramp over there off of Shaker Road.
a lot of those boat ramps are fish and game. So that like ends up, I don't say muddling stuff, but it's like a bigger, like it's like an umbrella fish and game. You have to get approval through them, and that would be fantastic if they'd be receptive to that. But I was hoping, when the article went out and people would look at that, they would be like, oh, that sounds easy enough. Maybe we can initiate that in fish and game, within the fish and game program. But anyway,
I would make a motion that once we receive Jan's article, that the Conservation Commission send a letter to I guess it's not our location. I was thinking we could contact Fish and Game as a Conservation Commission and make the recommendation that they consider allowing municipalities who elect to put those up on state property to something to consider, instead of it being Jan. Not that she's a great shepherd of this conversation, and I've appreciated all I've learned. But I guess maybe it's premature, and we should likely at our next meeting consider sending a letter, just making them aware it's an opportunity to engage in municipalities.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think the more people that know about it, the better. Absolutely. I think if, hopefully the LPC can spread the word as well. John, did you have a question, John?
Yeah, I think we have a motion. Did we vote on it? I'm a little out of it right now.
We haven't had a second to Helen's motion.
Oh, I'll second it.
Thanks, John.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Roll call. Roll call. Kathy?
I think I can
What
vote on
was the motion?
Yes. Susie,
That
yes.
we provide some financial support for the boxes.
Yes, Paul?
Aye.
Fantastic.
Paul, are you there? Yes. And John was yes. Bob, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Unanimous vote that Kathy will contact Fish and Game and see about getting permission, depending upon each local community, to go ahead and put one of those in. And then we can worry about all the funding for doing some of that later, but at least we've kind of targeted some of those right here in Tilton.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Buffalo Park. Bob Hardy.
Yes.
Number 3 on the agenda was Buffalo Park Earth Day.
Yes. Well, we had a interesting day out in the rain last Saturday, but we did manage, thanks to the VOAG program, or it's now a CET, I think is the letters for the program now. And Chuck and Kathy and Paul and Peter Fogg showed up. I was a little disappointed because, as Kathy can attest to, we were on Facebook and several of the sites. Everybody said, oh, let's do a cleanup out there and we'll show up. We love the park. And we had the cleanup day and nobody showed up. But the school had, I think it's 7 students come, and Mike Petrin, the instructor, was there. As I said, Kathy and Chuck and myself, Paul and Peter Fogg, and we did manage to open up all of the trails. They were all fully open and functional, and Paul and myself and Peter took down several trees that were dead and possibly going to fall into the bear trail. And Kathy has posted a couple pictures, unbeknownst to me, that she had taken with me fighting with one of the trees that the bittersweet was in. And Paul started the process, and Peter started the process and cut about 8 feet off the bottom of the tree, and it was a big swing then that wasn't going anywhere. And eventually it did slowly ease its way back to the ground. And Paul cut off another 3 sections. And finally we got the bittersweet to snap and pulled the whole tree down. But it was being held by one strand of bittersweet, maybe the size of my pinky at the biggest. And it just wouldn't let go. So yes, the trails are open. They're in good shape, and I think we saw 3 people while we were working on the trails actually out walking their dogs or out hiking on the trail. So Kathy, I do have a group photo of the high school kids that I'll email to you and everything. So that's about all I got, Chuck, unless you and Kathy have more to add.
I think other than the original busload, it was at least 1 or 2 other young ladies, one more that came in her own car. But yeah, that was, the high school was a great help. That was terrific. And so was Paul's efforts out there with the chainsaw. No snickering, Paul.
I'll be quiet.
I'm not bringing it up if you don't.
Too late now, Chuck.
Okay. Going on to the next item under new business. Old business, rather. Reappointments. Kathy, you've been keeping track of this more than anyone else.
I think everybody is reappointed and has the paperwork. I just don't know if they've been sworn in.
Dan, have you been sworn in yet?
I need to go get sworn in. I just got, I think I was in Berlin or up in Dummer when the paperwork came in, and I got it. I didn't go over today. I'll try to go over tomorrow or Wednesday and get that done, so I'm sworn in.
Thank you. John Scanlon, are you sworn in yet? Excellent. Okay. Under new business. Possible wetlands violation by the Smart Funeral Home. I'm going to let Kathy talk about this. She's been monitoring this more closely.
When we last met in March, we had just received an email from Pat Constantino about a possible violation and pictures as well. We did not then hear anything for a bit until a local citizen called Chuck and asked what the Conservation Commission knew about a possible violation. He said he heard that it had gone to DES, and the person said, well, yeah, because I filed it. And he said, but what else do you know? And the answer was not much. Another week went by, no word from anyone. So on April 1st, I contacted Gail at Town Hall and asked if we had any mail, because I figured DES, if they knew about it, would send something. He very quickly and kindly returned a scanned document from DES saying that they'd gotten the complaint and that the person had 20 days to respond. That same day, April 1st, I contacted Pat to see if she knew anything that was going on from the town. And she responded April 6th, saying she hadn't heard anything, but she would look into it. That afternoon, she forwarded the summary letter from the town that first of all mentioned that there was a problem. They called DES on the 19th and that they'd filled it in on the 20th. Yet the DES letter was sent the 22nd. So there was a bit of a time gap there. The letter that went from the town to the possible violator went to the building inspector, the town administrator and the planning board. It did not come to the Conservation Commission. I asked Pat if she could find out why both conservation and zoning hadn't received it, because the person who may have violated or may have been involved in this had to go to the ZBA as well as the planning board to get some little issues like site plan stuff and a special exception for storage trailers and some other things. We still have not heard anything directly, but thanks to Pat and the local citizen and DES, that's where we were until this morning. I emailed at the direction of the chair, DES, and said, if the person had 20 days to respond, has that information been made available? Has anyone inspected the site? Has the riverbed been stabilized properly? And the message came back almost instantly that everything has been done and the case was closed. There has to have been some other communication somewhere in that time period, but we don't have it, so the case is closed.
Good job, Kathy.
Yeah, I would like to add my 2 cents worth. Prior to the email going off to DES, we also asked, because it was acknowledged that they never had filed a dredge and fill permit. And yet they not only withdrew some of that they were running a drain pipe directly into the stream bed, but then they took that out supposedly, and then they dug a hole and put in a dry well. And all of this, and that clearly that dry well had to have been within 20 feet of the wetlands buffer. So there's another violation of a local ordinance. And yet, because they, on the original thing that they were given so many days to file for a permit, and then all of a sudden DES says everything's fine, the case is closed, which now is kind of leading me to think that somehow the local town has taken control over that and told DES to back off, and that apparently a dredge and fill permit wasn't needed, or if it was, somebody else is taking responsibility for it. And the thing that kind of is a little upsetting to me is we never once got any correspondence from the town, not even a copy of the letter or any of the files on this whole thing that deals with wetlands. However, maybe I'm alone in my thoughts. Okay.
I brought, so,
John.
I brought this all up at the planning board meeting, and questioned it all as for a dry well. And apparently they also had a big pile of salt on there. And they just were told, yeah, you got to get that out of here and remove it. I was told they did not need any kind of permit for a dry well. I talked to Jen at DES too, and she said no, that the town had gone out there, their inspector for the town, and resolved the issues, and that Jen said that a dry well is not need a permit. So
Thanks, Todd.
it's frustrating.
Is that a new rule that we weren't aware of?
Dry wells have never needed a permit because dry wells aren't in wetlands. They're just a hole that water drains into and percolates into the ground. If that dry well is in a wetlands or the wetlands buffer, then it should have a permit. But most dry wells are put in to catch like roof runoffs or so forth, and don't need a wetlands permit. The other thing, just to give keep everybody happy, so to speak. So I think on minutes, we keep referring to this as next to the Smart property. And I'd like our minutes to reflect that the Smarts had nothing to do, the Smart Funeral Home had nothing to do with this. And
Sure.
That's a good point, Bob. And since we just passed the previous minutes, we should amend those to reflect the actual site of the property in question.
question,
Says that it's at KRM.
KRM and Marcotte.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it states KRM.
The only question I would have is, and I have no idea because I never went down to the site to look, was after they had, and they did, by the way, go into the wetlands, the original ditching was right down into the intermittent stream bed, and you can't tell me that's not a wetlands. Secondly, I don't know where the dry well was located in regards to, or if anyone has even flagged wetlands in the area to know whether or not the dry well went into an area which was at least outside of the 20-foot wetland buffer. So there were some questions that I had, but where no one communicated with us from the town, and the town seems to have resolved it all, including some of the issues that I know were pertinent to the ZBA. I guess it's just one more case of the town taking responsibility for all this. Jim?
The pictures that I saw had nothing to do with the dry well.
Right.
They were literally just a pipe that drained into the intermittent wetland, not
Yeah.
a dry well. So,
That's what I saw as well.
yeah. So,
Yeah, I went down there, they filled them all in, and I question if they stabilized the bank, because I didn't see anything after that. And then I was told that they took care of that. I didn't go back down, double check.
So I would
However, given the fact
like-
that they were in there in wetlands down to the intermittent stream bed with a backhoe, even when they were trying to backfill, should have would have been required to get a DES dredge and fill permit. However, I don't want to beat this to death, but it's just one more example, I guess, of a lack of communications.
So I'd like to make a recommendation that the minutes reflect that we don't have the information to understand why this project was not identified as a wetlands violation, and that as far as our records should indicate that any further inquiries that any public party might make, they would have to go to the land use office to find the definitive conclusion. Because otherwise our minutes would appear that we didn't seek essentially a finality associated with our own questions. And we have some barriers to communication that are unexplained in this particular event. So I would point any public parties from our minutes back to the land use office so that any neighbor or someone else who might be trying to explore the conclusion of this would know whom to go to, since we weren't apprised of why certain decisions were made.
I'll second that.
Okay, let's just do a quickie. Bob,
Yes,
John,
Yep.
Paul, Ellen,
Yes.
Jim,
yes,
Jan,
Yes, agreed.
Kathy,
Yes.
unanimous. Okay, let's move on. 3B, review of the February 9th Planning Board minutes. Kathleen?
We've discussed this before, that the planning board minutes of February 9th said that the Conservation Commission was satisfied with the plans presented by Novus regarding Bittern, and that all issues had been resolved. My letter to the town of Tilton questioning this and stating, in fact, more than just questioning, stating that no one had ever communicated with the Conservation Commission, yet they spoke for the commission, That concern has not been addressed. Instead, I have been declared as the problem. My husband has been declared as the problem, and no one has dealt with the actual issue. I think our minutes are now clear between March and today that we never were consulted. We were never contacted by email or by phone or by carrier pigeon or by anything, and that those comments did not reflect our thinking. I think personally, it's a horrifying precedent that any engineer or any wetland scientist or developer or anybody can walk into the planning board and say, Conservation Commission supports this, and nobody will challenge that. I still find that appalling, but it happened, it's over, and I guess we move on.
Anyone else wish to comment?
I'd like to, I think well, I'm just going to say it this way. In light of the experience of late, but also over the last 12 plus months with regard to distancing and disruption regarding COVID-19, and really any opportunities for collaboration and communication, I personally do not know who all the planning board members are and who all the zoning board members are. I don't know if they know who we are. I don't know if they know, in fact, that this particular board has had some of the longest standing membership and experience associated with the subject matter in which we advise on. I was thinking, and I would like to make a motion that we invite members of the planning board and the zoning board to an introductory and collaborative meeting for all three of us, with the intent of the meeting to be, in some cases, a first introduction, a reintroduction, a review, and to discuss the statutes that guide each body, so we have some good base understanding amongst each other about the mission of each committee's function, and really to discuss mutual opportunities for that collaboration. I know this is long-winded. This meeting would also serve us to assist us in creating a mutual understanding of the best methods for us to communicate, literally the types of information that each committee should be sharing and may be sharing already, but reaffirm that. What formats literally are preferable for the members and how they arrive, and what resources we all share, so that we really can do twofold: create some efficiency amongst each other that we are really might not know of at this point. But I really think the meeting would help us work more effectively without redundancy and ensure effective and timely communication on shared projects that we have together. At least sets a very effective collaborative playing field for all these members, both maybe some other members with longevity and some new members, to have a nice balance. It doesn't mean that there's chronic mutual agreement, but there would be chronic mutual respect. And we could also firm up some, I hasten to say, procedures that we'd all be comfortable, or guidelines or guidance frames that we would all be functioning under, to help eliminate any opportunity for public members to try to speak for a committee. But also twofold, I think this would allow other committees to prompt questions they may want to refer back to other committees, but also help even prepare new homeowners or even long-term business members who have never engaged in a project that might involve all three of the committees to be more prepared as they navigate the municipal process. And I throw that out there. I go back, it's a motion to have a collaboration and communication meeting with the planning board and zoning board and the Conservation Commission. And if the committee sees fit to second and approve the motion, I would then offer my experience as a manager to help facilitate that conversation.
I won't ask you to repeat that whole thing, Ellen, but I support it.
Paul, how about a second?
A second. I second that.
Thanks, Paul.
You're welcome.
will speak in favor of that. I think it would be a great thing to do.
Yes.
And I think that since our commission has expressed some disappointment in communication through the town hall, that maybe we need to start doing more communication directly with the various boards. And since I think we are the only commission, and so that if we have to do that, then we might have to rely on the commission or the other boards or the board members to do that. One point before we take a vote on this, and that is that I appreciate the offer very much, and I think it would be very worthwhile. I guess the most common thing to do would be to propose, see how we're going to go about setting up such a meeting, because I'm not sure necessarily going through all the board chairs will produce what we want. So I'm going to ask, with your permission, the secretary to compile a list of all the members of the planning board. And I believe right now, Kathy had done some research earlier, and I think there are only 3 people left on the ZBA, several either moving or whatever. And I can get those addresses. Only 2 now, John says, okay, or whatever. So we need to get those and send I think a feeler out. And Helen, you can probably work with Kathy on how to word that, and we'll send it out to those various members asking for maybe a virtual, because this seems to be the easiest way for people to get together, where we can have a virtual meeting and try to get I guess a meeting of the minds and some collaboration.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, there's 2 new people that were just sworn in as ZBA. They seem really good. They're all completely new to it, so it would be good to give them some assistance in what the Conservation Commission does, and like I said, how we could work together and our knowledge base.
And I'm sure we can find someone to put together a short slide presentation on what we do. Any other comments? Let's just go through the names again. If you support this, please say so. I'm going to start with Kathy.
Yes.
Jan?
I think it sounds great. I'd love to meet some other people on boards.
Paul?
Yes.
Ellen?
Yes.
Jim?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Okay, it passes unanimously. Going on to the next item. Overgrown gardens at Salmon Run. I brought this up. Kathy and I pulled into the parking lot a week or 2 ago after, not shortly after we got it, the chain was down. And we can start to see some of the daffodils coming up. And as you well know, there's a few daffodils along the inside of the railing. John, I do plan on getting some of those little flags made. Helen, thank you very much for the pictures that you sent on all the lupins. There are a lot. That shows some, yeah, those seeds spread nicely.
They're I don't know if the picture showed it, but they're literally the closest point as you're driving away from downtown. That's where the largest cluster, and you can see smaller clusters of them trying to come up in little other places. I was throwing some, I didn't ask permission, but I was throwing some wildflower seed and sunflower seed out there with the hope that the rain might help spark some flowers later in the season.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, but it really, as a person that was like, mow it, I was out there going, all right, I'm glad I didn't win that vote.
Speaking of mow it, I think we need to send Kevin via Jeannie a request or notice that we don't want that mowed this spring. I
Right.
could see them getting in there in a week or two and mowing it and doing away with all our looping. So
Yeah, I would also say, and feel free others who to walk out there, but that first section between the rocks and the tree dedicated to my grandfather and my dad, that first section does not have a lot of what I see are very visible wildflowers. So we may want to start treating the sections differently. Something to think about. That section again closest to town seems to have a better opportunity and more sort of fertile with flowers. The first section looks like it, and I call it thatch, someone else is going to call it something, right? You can see that already starting to come in and sort of suffocate things in that section. So something for us to think about.
I put some galanthus around your father's tree,
Yeah.
and there's a whole bunch of daffodils I put around the parking lot too, in
Okay.
between the stones, and hopefully they're not getting whacked.
I didn't see them come.
I got more galanthus. I'll probably get more galanthus out there.
Okay.
Oh, did you see this that I sent out?
Yes,
Yeah, that just confirms about fine to mow for a year or so, but not after that. It's more like haying.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay,
John was trying to say something.
Yeah. Yeah, if we can also get a message over to Kevin not to weed whack and mow yet out there, because they're going to go out there and they're going to weed whack and mow around the fence and the everything that's starting to come up. And I think maybe in the next week can get plants that are marked along or located along the fence marked.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time. I guess I would also recommend, if I recall, we have a generic Conservation Commission email account, correct?
yes.
we do.
I think that and does that go, I think that we should use that email account as official Conservation Commission communication. And then we should sign the emails, the members of the Conservation Commission, with all of our names. Because I think there is a current misperception of what the role that the chairman is just not, I'm not minimizing the role, but it is the person that organizes the meeting and controls the dialogue and makes sure that we follow the basic rules of order, in addition to being a liaison, that being Kathy as our secretary and our chair, to making sure we receive communications. I'm concerned that there seems to be this current tenor that emails coming from the Mitchells are the Mitchells, and I don't like the tenor that I'm experiencing. So I would like to neutralize that. And this may sound simple, but I would recommend that we use the Conservation Commission email as our official method of communicating, and that we enclose it, sincerely the members of the Conservation Commission, and it lists all members, and then says, please, in corresponding back, use this Conservation Commission email, and then we can count on our fine secretary and chair to then forward those to us individually. Or if you have another technological means that comes to all of us, then certainly that would rectify it. But I think we need to neutralize this perception that there are not these other 8 members participating in this dialogue and making these unanimous decisions together.
Thank you very much, Helen. I agree wholeheartedly. I'll tell you what, before I call on you, Jim, Kathy and I use Microsoft Outlook, and we can create easily a signature page, in which case we can list all the names and members, so that anything that goes out, we can just pull up that signature and that will have all the names and not just either mine or hers. So we can accomplish that quite easily. Also in the future, if there's anything of real importance, and in following up with what Helen is saying, I think the most difficult thing we have is getting signatures. But, not unlike what the Board of Selectmen does when they have official documents, they end up with 5 signatures. Of course, here we have 7 regular members and 2 alternates. By the way, Ben has been, I think, officially sworn in as an alternate, yet he still remains to have some difficulty connecting online. So we'll see how things go on that, but I would like to get, I agree wholeheartedly. Thank you, Helen. Jim, you had your one comment?
I didn't quite catch that, but we used to just sign everything, the Tilton Conservation Commission, with I believe all our names were on there, because everything we do is all voted on. So it's either it either passed or it didn't pass. If it didn't pass, you're not getting a letter. If it did pass, it's essentially from the majority of the Conservation Commission. The idea being that to take the onus off of the one person. Kathy, I sent you a private email a while back as to why that transpired, so we all know. And if you want to learn about it, you can call me. We'll leave it off the video on recording.
I would just tell you, Jim, right now is that when I send my personal emails out, my official name and email address and phone number are on those. In the future, I will make sure that I don't do those. Any emails that are relevant to the Conservation Commission, I will make sure to have a different, I'll do a different signature base too. Thank you. Okay, so we will do that, Helen. Thank you very much. By the way, getting back to Salmon Run, one of my questions and comments had to do with the flower beds that are on the left side as you drive into the parking lot, and they are a mess. I have no idea. Those of you on social media and on Facebook, if you have been attentive, you may have seen our state representative, Juliet Harvey-Bullia, put out a thing just this past week looking for volunteers to put in some plantings. And I'm not sure, Helen, whether or not your mother's still involved with that across from Town Hall. And Bob, I don't know if you're still providing any plants or not, but it appeared that she was looking for volunteers to help take care of those rain barrels. And I know that Kathy, as a master gardener, had worked with that project a couple of years ago, but she was looking for a bunch of volunteers, but also for, was it Mabel? And yeah, Kathy, I'll get right to you. So she was looking for a bunch of volunteers to go in and work on the flower beds and put some plants in. And so one of the conversations that I'd had with Kathy was, I don't know whether we need to, part of the problem with asking for volunteers, you never know what's going to happen when, if they go in on their own, is that pruning, and they prune things that shouldn't be pruned, because I've made that mistake here at home. Yes, yesterday, as a matter of fact. Or we try to ask for an RFP and put out and see if we can hire someone or some group or company to go in and do the proper kinds of maintenance on that flower bed. But I would be very interested in others' opinions, but it looks horrible right now. Kathy?
No, I was just going to say, whenever you get volunteers, they sometimes will dig up the plants and leave the weeds. So you have to be careful about volunteers.
I've even seen the master gardeners do that.
Many times, many times.
Yeah, Kathy, my
John.
sister threatened to go over and weed. I'm like, no, 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 don't touch that. You just
Yeah.
asked me if that was a flower and it was a blade of grass. No, don't help me.
Yeah, they're probably just taking them home. I had some of my bulbs disappear that I put out at Riverfront and the other places, and they're just gone.
Someone
Might have
is
been
digging up all the Stelladora we plant around the Veterans Monument. So the hedge used to be 2 feet wide, and now it's like 6 inches in some places. And some places you could tell they don't dig them up because it'd be really obvious. It's very strange. And all the hens and chickens were all taken.
A good
Wow.
rule of thumb is if you're in doubt, leave it alone.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, so yeah, last spring I got in there. I cleaned out a huge pile. Oh, it was a little over waist deep that I piled up there. I got all the dead stuff out there. I'm willing to do that. Not cut anything, but remove all of the dead and the leaves. I can get up there and do it. One of the things is we should get some mulch in there. I don't know. I know they have some stuff at the Public Works, but I'm not sure what exactly it is that was shredded up. And as we know, it could cause even worse problems. But yeah, some type of mulch would help out. I'm more than willing to clear out the dead stuff anyway. We'll have to be in about a week and a half or 2 weeks here before I can get to it, though. But that's if we
Okay.
don't find another method.
Okay. I want to just add that if you haven't driven through or looked at the parking lot at T-Hop recently, I'll be honest with you. Public Works did get in there. They put in some of that. I think it's a red mulch, but they did a very good job, and they mulched around those tulips and things coming up in there. And I want to make sure that when we contact Kevin about the mowing at Salmon Run, we also thank his crew for the good job they did at T-Hop. I got to imagine that the stuff they put at T-Hop, John, was not stuff that was ground up and left at town hall. I mean, at the town shed. So
Okay.
the question we might ask is whether or not they have any extra mulch left over, because I'm sure they've used some of it around those trees on Main Street and a few other places. But if not, I'll tell you what, I will volunteer and pay for a couple of yards of mulch, and I'll even haul it down with my trailer. But I mean, the thing is that we need to make sure that we get in there fairly soon, even if it's a couple of weeks from now, because beyond that, putting the mulch in around all those plants, that's a lot of work. A lot of work. Yeah. Bob.
Yeah, I was going to say that they mulched Riverfront Park around all the trees. And Paul, you're going to have to pull the mulch away from the trees again, because it looks like a teepee around the base of every tree out there. So
That's what it looks like down Main Street. Yeah.
Check that out Wednesday.
yeah,
And Chuck, I'll volunteer my truck and myself to haul that mulch when you go down to get it.
Okay, excellent. I'm willing to go anywhere. I mean, right now, Apple Tree has quite a bit of mulch, and I want to get some for myself. And maybe we'll make a couple of trips in one day, and I won't use my trailer. Anyway,
I'll volunteer to work with John or do some weeding, do some pruning, see what we can do.
I can go down at like 7 a.m. on a Saturday. Doesn't mean anybody else has to be there at 7, but I'll just go down and start.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, if you let me know when you're going down at 7 a.m., I'll go down there. I've got a pair of those. One of those. It's a Black & Decker battery operated. Those I won't call it a pruner, but those little. It's about 2 feet long. It does pruning.
Barrel loppers.
Well, not just loppers, it's the things that you use to trim hedges with.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I've discovered in the past is Kathy and I used to go through some of our perennial flower beds in the fall. I would use the weed whacker, but this thing with a battery pack will go right in there. And if you've got to trim stuff down, anything up to, I'm almost going to say at least 1/4 of an inch or more, it just mows it right down very nicely. So I'd be willing to go down there too on a Saturday morning soon, and maybe we could get and create some piles, and then we can contact the town to come in and pick them up. But as far as doing the rest of that, does anyone at all think that it's worth trying to find someone or a company to come in
Yes.
and do some maintenance?
I think it would be worth our while, much like we did with the tree RFP, if you will, to get some bids to see what they would pitch us for costs. I think we might as well. We do our best, but there are people who could go down and maintain it on a regular basis, and it would be, I think, valuable to understand what that would cost the town. I think it's worth the investment considering what we went through to procure that property and then invest in the plants that are already there. I would make a motion that we get some quotes for some general maintenance of the flower beds and just stick to that, the plantings, because I think the rest we can do fairly well on our own.
I second that motion.
Okay, any other discussion? I'll tell you what, with Bob and Helen, I will try to put something together in the next day or so, and I'll circulate it to everyone so you can make any suggestions for edits as far as what the. I think we could maybe even get someone, maybe get the town, maybe Tim could put something up on the town's website. The other place, obviously, is the place to put it up. It's on the local social media on Facebook. And I'll guarantee you we'll get some people that would be willing to put some bids in. So if we're going to do the general cleanup, then I guess maybe the question would be is whether or not we are looking for someone to go in there right now and do the appropriate kinds of pruning and cleaning it up. And then we take care of it during the middle of the summer, including, by the way, the cleanup and mulching. Because right now, I like the motion of, and I think we need to have someone that would do this annually. But if we're able to take care of it in the summer, there's no sense of us planning on going down on some Saturday morning and doing all the work if we can get some bids quickly.
Right.
I'll tell
So
you what,
let's
I'll put
try
something
that
together
first.
tomorrow and send it out to everyone and try to get something up on social media by the end of the week.
That sounds great.
Sounds good, Chuck.
That's a big dog.
All those in
Yeah, it's a big
favor of
dog.
the motion, I'll go through it right quickly. Bob, you in favor? Thumbs up.
Yes.
John, Jim, Helen, Paul, Jan.
Yep.
I think I can see your hand up, Jan.
And it's dark in here, sorry.
Okay, excellent. Unanimous. Looks like New Hampshire DES 4A. Shady Grove condominiums.
Here we go again. 997 Laconia Road. It's where Canzano had the plan for condos that would share a kitchen that was denied and has been sold and is now owned by the Isabels, Tara and Jeff. And in November of 2020, there was a complaint of a violation that they had been in the water with equipment and without a permit, and they had 20 days to respond. That was November. In March this year, a letter of deficiency arrived for us, and it appears that the lake bed was dredged with heavy equipment, 56 feet long by 35 feet wide for 1,960 square feet. Bucket marks are still visible on the lake bed. The sandy fill was observed in a 30 by 25 foot wide area. there was no record of a permit. And so there are all kinds of things that must be done by April 30th, May 31st, and so on. What makes it a little weird is that on April 5th, we received a formal complaint from the Crumbs, Cynthia and William, and they had filed a complaint with DES in November. And then they sent us more, and they sent it to the Conservation Commission. And it's their evidence of what happened. I hope DES also has this because it's valuable, I think. And we'll just, I guess, have to wait and see. Haven't heard anything other than from DES and the Crumbs.
Anyone got any comments, questions?
Okay. Kathy, if you're not sure if DES has the complaint from the Crumbs, I think we should, if you already have it scanned in, I think you should forward it to the person from DES who has the letter of deficiency.
The DES did send the letter of deficiency, and the Crumbs sent this to us, and the Crumbs formal complaint was supposedly also forwarded to DES. I wondered why they sent it to us.
Yeah, that's weird. Maybe it's nice. It's communicating. It's refreshing.
We got notified. I was so excited.
It's nice that a citizen used the process and we were informed.
Woo.
Okay,
It was an oversight.
Here's a crazy question. If it had to do with a wetlands violation and somebody else filed it, we did not, and yet we got the correspondence from DES and a copy of it, then why, if someone else filed a wetlands violation on the KRM property, did we get totally avoided? I mean, I can't tell you. I just get so frustrated with the lack of proper communication and who is doing what, and now it's a closed deal. I'm going nuts.
Well, we're going to hopefully have a process, at least a path to open communication among multiple committees in our town.
Hopefully. That would be nice.
I'm going to have to get some Zoloft or something to start taking meds for anxiety and frustration.
CBD tablets.
Okay.
Kathy, can you just clarify which property this is?
Yes, it's across from Apple Tree and that little mall. It's the Shady Grove condominium. It used to be Lady of the Lake, and now it belongs to Hill Road.
Actually, I think it's between that and the store in the Winnisquam store. It's right in that area, Bob.
Next to the Winnisquam Marine, there, Winnisquam Marine has that storage building.
Yep, right next to it.
Okay.
Actually, it's between that and Hill Road.
There are 5 condos there.
Yeah, it's right next to that place that used to sell the fish market or whatever it was right there, right in the back.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Kathy, how about the next one?
We've already discussed the next one.
Okay. So we're on other. I'll bring this up. I had one conversation, a couple of conversations earlier today. As you all know, that after Kathy's spiteful threat to post stuff on the media, she was accused of being hostile and whatever. And lately, I've been getting a lot of grief too.
Unbecoming.
I believe I circulated an email that suggested that Kathy and I were invited to attend some kind of a discussion meeting with the land use office, the chair of the planning board, and the town administrator, referred to sometimes as Mrs. Forrester or sometimes Jeannie. And they wanted to plan this on the 28th of April, which is a Wednesday, I believe. At one point, I had contacted the town administrator and asked if it was possible where I could go in and just sit down and talk with her privately for 10 or 15 minutes about the communications issues. She said, well, I can't do that without checking with the select board. So she went to the select board. The result of the meeting with the select board was that she came back and said, the select board said, no, you can't meet with me. And then said, we'll meet with the planning board and the land use office and the Mitchells, which would be what I think was the original 5. And then if that's not satisfactory, then only then can you come and talk to me. And then, and if you're not happy, then only then can you go to the select board. Well, first of all, as a public citizen, I deny the fact that I can't go in and talk to the town administrator at any time, period. Secondly, as a taxpayer in this town, and not only that, but someone who has given a lot of time over a lot of years to this town, I reject the notion that I can't go in and talk to the select board at any time, regardless of what the issues are. However, I have been virtually, Kathy and I have virtually been summoned to a meeting that I perceive to be hostile and not one in which I wish to attend, given that no, I'm not rejecting the notion that I would be the only male present with 4 women, but I don't perceive that as one that I really want to attend. And when I was queried at the end of last week whether or not I was willing, Kathy and I were willing to go to this meeting, I said I would leave that up. I would not make a decision until after the Conservation Commission met on Monday night, and here we are. So, by the way, I'm sitting here, you can't see this with my arms folded. Is that negative body language or what? So anyway, with your permission, and I don't necessarily want to put it to a vote, but you can stick your thumbs up or down. I intend to reject the notion of going in and having this meeting on the 28th. And I am far more interested in pursuing what Helen had brought up, which is a mutual meeting of the two boards and the commission in the future. And I guess I'm just asking what your senses are, and feel free to speak out. Jim.
Chuck, going back to what I believe we talked about before, we agree on a lot of things, not just you and Kathy. I think every vote tonight was all unanimous. So you might be the head of the commission, but this falls on all of us. And I for one would, if you have to go, agree to go with you as support. And I think others would do that as well.
I think Helen's plan, if that's presented, instead of saying no one's going, just say, this is the plan that the commission supports.
Right.
Where all 3 groups get together and don't even deal with April 20, whatever.
So
and I agree with that too. I'm just saying that you have our support if you decide that you're going to go, and if you want us, we will go with you, or at least I will move things around to go with you.
100% echoing Jim's sentiment. And then I would further articulate that I find the proposal peculiar, and here is why. Just from my management experience, I would not recommend having a husband and wife going and having a conversation with members of the town that could be subject to criticizing one's wife. I find it a peculiar approach to the discussion. But furthermore, to my comments earlier tonight, We are one conservation commission. The decision was to send the letter of concern because we were misrepresented as a commission. That was trying to set facts as facts. And if there is some concern with the tenor in which we articulated, they can certainly highlight those, and we'll take those into consideration with any further communication. But I do think not proposing, indicating that we're going to engage in a collaborative meeting to discuss communication paths, and would be certainly professionally and respectfully polite in providing any outcomes to those meetings, just to help assist continued dialogue. But I find the proposal not likely to produce an outcome that represents the voice of the whole commission, not because you're not capable, but because it's not fair. And the most appropriate approach, if someone wants to meet with us, is to meet with all of us. And I'm sure all of us would be more than happy to attend. Unless somebody goes thumbs down, then that person is certainly allowed to vote no.
I go thumbs down just because I have another meeting on the 28th, so I can't make this. But I mean, I agree that Kathy and Chuck wrote that letter on behalf of the entire commission, not themselves. So to single them out isn't appropriate for the town and everything. So
Anyone else? I will just add that, John,
It just as being a selectman and now a planning board member, so I'm on both sides of the other side of the fence. So, and as you know, a selectman, as a chairman of selectmen, I disagreed, but it's not unanimous. But I always felt that any board or commission, the chairman could come before the selectmen, seeing as the board of selectmen actually formed that committee and approved it and swore them in and all that. Always looking for input or anything. However, that was not a unanimous. I mean, it was not a unanimous decision by the select board. One of the things that, I mean, this would be up to the Conservation Commission, but in regards to the statements that were made by the applicant that were incorrect, I thought it would be nice that if maybe we could go to the planning board, just make a statement to say that we realize that you made your decisions in good faith based on the information that you had. However, the information that you got was not portrayed truly, or and have it on the minutes at the planning board.
yeah, John, you're referring specifically to the lot merger for the MB tractor on the February meeting.
Yes, and I thought it would be nice to have the planning board in a respectful way let them know that that was not, that they were given false information. Because this other applicants or the same applicant may go before the planning board again, and not the planning board may not know that they don't always tell it like it is.
Any other comments? John, my only question, I guess, would be is whether or not we need to actually be there, or I could send a letter to have it read, or however the best way to do that. Depending upon when the next planning board meeting is, I may not necessarily be available, and I'm not sure who would be. And I'll be very honest with you, at this time and point, it would probably be better off for the commission as a whole if I not be the one who is there.
They got the letter. Everybody on the planning board got that letter, got both letters. So they've been notified.
I just think so it's officially in the minutes that
Well,
So
they
I
that's
would
all.
be,
That's up to you.
I would be willing to, when's the next planning board meeting?
I think it's
27th.
You can go after my family next. When is it? The 27th?
Tuesday, the 27th.
I I can. When does
Yeah.
it start?
6:30.
Okay, then I should be able to do that because I have a Senate hearing at 3:45. I'll be happy to go and take the information so that it's officially in the minutes if this body wants it in the minutes of the planning board.
I think it would be good, Helen, if you did that. And, you know, it's just, I think that the point has to be clearly made that no one, an engineer or wetland scientist can go in and say, oh yeah, the Conservation Commission agrees with everything, you know. And I guess I would, you know, to me, a simple phone call or an email could have answered that question if someone had done it before the meeting. You know,
I will
think
tell you that they have a very heavy agenda that night. There's a new Mexican restaurant at the Econo Lodge. There's Gulbicki putting in used cars, the sail view thing, the driveway on Caleb Hill, and 3 or 4 other things. So it may be a tough night. Do they have a public information to start so Helen wouldn't have to sit there?
It would be later on in the meeting when they do the at the end other business.
John, you have my phone number. Do you want to just text me and cue me up and I'll pop onto the screen? Hey, look at her. Where'd she come from?
Yeah, we could do that.
What's in that icy cup?
I'll check to make sure.
by the way, just as a very interesting comment for those, because all of us have been there for the duration. The driveway permit on Caleb Hill Road, guess where it is? Right on the corner, across from where Ted Perrin used to live. Yes, that's that lot, remember, that was originally refused and they made him put the driveway, Paul. They originally made him put the driveway in through the neighbors down the road through the log cabin.
Right.
And then the guy ended up, I'm going to choose my words carefully. After there was a change of road agents, went in and supposedly got a permit off of the Range Road right there on the corner. But now they are officially going in and asking for the driveway permit. And if you haven't noticed, Paul, I want to get right to you. We've been driving by there lately, and there's been a truck wait out on the field. There's been a logging going on and all kinds of activity. But Paul.
Yes, Chuck, I might be able to add a little additional information. The young man that bought that property, according to a friend of mine who's quite friendly with the new property owner, felt that he wasn't informed by the real estate company of the various problems with getting a driveway permit.
Oh.
Because not only are you dealing with the town, but you're dealing with the state. They need a site distance requirement, and it's going to be a tough place to put a driveway in. In fact, the owner is considering litigation against the real estate company for not disclosing the information. This is what I got, secondhand information for what it's worth.
Okay, Paul, I got a question on that, and then I'll get to John. The original purchaser of that land when he bought it, which was a gentleman who lives down on Winter Street, just below Bob.
Right, he's a county cop.
Yep, that worked for the sheriff's department.
Yep.
He knew what he was getting into at the time, and he's also the one who apparently approached the when we had a changeover of a highway garage superintendents down there, and supposedly got a permit to put one in off of the Range Road. So I don't know where we are, but John, go ahead.
So anyway, we had a chance to talk to him. He came in there just to the planning board, just to try and get some information because he's a little perplexed on the whole situation.
Right.
He did have a buyer broker, and it wasn't disclosed to him, so he realizes that. But I think the buyer broker was also a in-law family member. So having he's got issues. He is well aware that he can't have it on Califf Hill Road. The state, he's talked to them, and that's absolute no-no. He's working on something up, was it the Pest House Road there, and coming in, or the Range Road?
Range Road.
Yeah, and I talked to him about it a little bit, and I told him that if there's any streams or wetlands or anything that even supports wetland type plants, that he should come before us and, um, with some types of plans. We could even get up there and take a look as Conservation Commission and, give him some ideas, or whether he should just kind of maybe look at some other property or something. So anyway, yeah, he seemed really responsive to doing it the right way and was asking questions as to which routes he should take for getting it the right way. So he's going to, if he can, get everything together, come before us.
John, is this a different owner than Todd Corey that Paul was just talking about that lives below me?
Younger guy? Well, it's getting that everybody's a younger guy now, but
Todd was the original owner, Bob.
Okay, so Todd has sold it?
Yes.
Apparently, yes.
Okay, because I was going to say Todd knew he couldn't get driveway access off of Califf Hill or
Right.
even off the Range Road, and he talked to me several times about if there was any way he could
I just want to,
circumvent this.
I'm going to throw a huge, massive timeout here. Timeout. I just, this is my other hat going on. But if I just heard the current property owner is considering suing the real estate broker, and as Bob keeps talking, if I was the property owner, I'd probably subpoena Bob to testify about everybody's awareness of the situation. So I would suggest we limit the conversation to wetlands and natural resources,
I move
unless
we
you really want to
adjourn.
be subpoenaed.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Helen.
Sorry, just trying to keep
Is there anything else under other?
what's that?
I want
Yeah, there's a couple other things with the planning board. The Winnisquam Market has been trying for some time to put in like a little picnic area with a food trailer. I had suggested that he went to, before I began my term on the planning board, they should contact DES anyway, just to find out, because he does have frontage. So, and that's the Sail View that you were talking about. So he's hasn't come back with us. He's not going near the water, do anything down there. But I said, well, you kind of need some dimensions for how far away you're going to be. And so he's been working with engineers and DES onto distances and that. So I've been watching that real closely.
DES approved his permit. The 15th
So DES did require him to get
April.
permit. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah,
at
because
Winnisquam Market. Okay.
yeah, he was told previously before I spoke up that they didn't need to contact DES, and I told him, yeah, well, I suggest that you do anyway and check, and so glad that worked.
John, I really like you on the planning board.
Yeah. Let's see other things.
John, who gave him the bad advice?
No.
No.
Mm.
Keep going, John. You had something else you wanted to tell us about another project.
So there was something interesting that came up at the Selectmen's meeting on Thursday. It was a driveway permit for Bittern Lane that the town was filing with DOT on behalf of Bittern MB Tractor. And it was an amendment to their driveway permit. I tried to get the information. I was very unclear. But I can understand why the town was filing a driveway permit for Bittern Lane under MB Tractor when the town owns Bittern Lane, and I thought MB Tractor should be applying for a driveway permit onto Bittern Lane and send from Bittern Lane to the state. So I was overruled. I didn't vote for it, but anyway, I don't know if anybody knows anything about that.
Strange.
Yeah.
Nope.
Is it me, or does it sound strange that we'd be filing a permit?
It sounds very strange. Hmm.
Okay.
But
It
there's no
does sound
wetlands
like-
impacts and natural
does sound like
resources
it.
affected.
Sounds like Mr. Bourgeois gets whatever he wants.
Well, what happened is I say, I don't understand. I brought up my questions, and the response was, oh, hang on. I will get MB Tractor's attorney on the phone and he'll tell you about it. And I just said, no, thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry now. Need to know. I guess I can watch the minutes, right? It was in public.
Right at the
correct?
end. Yeah, it's towards the end.
Yeah. So who had the Mr. Bourgeois' attorney on speed dial?
That was our town administrator was offered to get him on there and was actually dialing, and I requested that she didn't.
Oh,
John, are they
well, we could
requesting
our own attorney.
that the town widen the current driveway there? Is that why?
Um, I couldn't. I asked everybody else who was signing it to explain because it was an amended driveway permit. I said, "Where's the plans for before and after?" And it was one of those like huge, D-size drawings that was changed into this big, and I couldn't. I saw nothing, and nobody else could point out what was actually going on, but it was all signed. Anyway, that's about it for me for Selectmen Planning Board for the last week or a couple weeks.
By the
Good
way,
job, John. Way to persevere.
Thank you, John.
Yeah.
kudos, John, for being on the planning board. Thank you.
Mm.
How much longer are you quarantined?
I'm supposed to be quarantined till I think it's the 26th or the 28th. However, my boss told me I had to go to work tomorrow.
Private enterprise.
Well, I think Governor Sununu would probably agree.
Just wear a mask.
I want to thank everyone. Very supportive group. One of the things I think I've learned is sticking my head out a little bit too often, maybe, and speaking up is that, and I appreciate the comments made earlier, especially by Helen and Jim and others, that, we are a group, we are a commission, we usually all speak in one voice. And even though we may not have every vote as unanimous, 90% of the time we are. We have responsibilities. I think we exercise them responsibly. And I get very upset when people blow us off and think that we are meaningless. And I just I get too emotional over it. I really do. But I thank you for all the support. And I would not at all mind if someone else were to end up taking over the chairmanship for the rest of the year, just so that my name isn't necessarily associated with everything that we do as a commission. But I will make sure that whatever I send out in the future, and Kathy will too, has all the names on it. Thank you all very much.
No, thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck. I know we're probably I know my kid brought my supper in, but I would recommend that we rotate chairmanship every 6 months.
Sounds good.
I have a thin neck.
Again, we have to remember that being the chair is just running this meeting. Everything else we do should be going out under all of our names.
Right.
Then all we're next on the line together.
Right.
And we can all chip in for an attorney together.
Excellent. Excellent suggestion.
I agree, and I
Yeah,
am not
this one.
willing to give up doing, John, just a second, I am not willing giving up what I do for the commission, and I know Kathy isn't either, but if somebody else's name wants to be associated with just sitting here and doing what I'm doing tonight, that I'm sure anyone on the commission can do that for a few months and without it being too stressful.
Yep. And even
John,
if it frightens everyone, we could do it every 3 months. All it is running the meeting.
John,
Yeah, I'm running out of necks. So I'm going to pass on it. I got the other things.
yeah, I know that there's been some points made about how many boards and commissions people can be on, so you want to be careful.
I forgot to mention that I found a copy of the checklist in my emails, and I dropped it off at the planning board meeting and gave it to the chairman of the planning board. That, that list, we had 2 pages where you check stuff off. And now I can't find the original copy of it. I don't know if anybody
I'll
could
send you
email
one.
that.
I'll send you one.
Yeah, if we can email that over to the planning board for FYI that they lost theirs, so they'd have a copy
We
of
can,
that.
we can mail it to the planning and zoning. I mean, there's no reason why both shouldn't be aware
Oh,
of
yeah,
it. All members. Some of you may be
all
new.
members, yep.
John, is there a change in the chair?
What's that? No, there isn't. And, there are, yeah, I already told you there's 5 members on zoning, yeah. But no, Jane is still the chair, and Judy's the vice chair.
Thank you. Anything else? I've got 8:34 p.m. I want to thank everyone. You're a wonderful group of people, and I think this summer we need to do a cookout up here to make up for the fact that we didn't have our normal Christmas social.
Christmas in July.
Of course, with appropriate social distancing, and I'll provide the steaks and burgers. You bring the rest of it.
Okay. I'll wear my
Sounds good.
unvaccinated pin.
Thank you. You guys are all great. Appreciate
All
you.
right,
Bye-bye.
motion to adjourn. Bye.
Ellen and Kat.
Bye.
See everybody later.
Did we do a motion to adjourn? I guess we did. Okay.
Yep. Vote with your feet or your finger.
Bye.
Vote with your mouse, yeah.
Yes.
That was a long meeting.
Oh, yeah, a lot of town business going on. A lot of monkey business.
It's gonna be great. Don't forget to pay some.
I've been fired. Hello. Yeah, hi Bob, how's it going? Yeah,
That's somebody who he was at the meeting with. I'm sorry? He was at the meeting with Bob. Oh.
So about when Guy and Barbara and I were in the van, and the guy was driving the van, and he accelerated a little bit too fast, and I went flying into the rear of the van on a chair, ended up in the middle of his lilacs. And I'll check that bark mulch on the trees and everything Wednesday when I go over there.